Well, that's kind of weird. Hey guys, it's Thomas from the Booze and BJJ podcast. I am doing a really late solo show because, quite frankly, I couldn't sleep. Um, so I'm just gonna do a uh, Q&A type of show tonight. So I'm gonna go over some questions that were submitted last week that we didn't touch on. I think we got some good ones. There's one I'm probably going to regret doing, but I'm gonna do it anyways. So that should be fun. And if you guys know me and the types of videos I've done by myself, you'll understand why in a minute. What was it? But yeah, let's get to it. So my week has been pretty good. Um, I've been doing a lot of stuff for work, and that's been very tiring. But here we go. We'll leave that up. So it's been very tiring. Last week I didn't really get much sleep, and the week before I didn't get much sleep. And then I thought that was over on Friday. Started working on this past Monday and realized, oh, it's not over yet. So this upcoming Monday it should be over, and I should be able to do more. I'm getting a little. I'm definitely missing training. Um, even though I've been able to do some, I haven't been able to do the the quality of training that I like because I've just been so physically tired. But hopefully to get back into it. So without further ado, let's start with the questions. Let's see what we got here. I'm not going to say who they're from because I think there's folks who watch this podcast that don't really want to be identified. So that's fine. Although I don't know why they wouldn't want to be identified. I mean, it's not like we're too crazy. And anyways, um, what in the world? Okay, whatever. All right. So first question: gi or no gi? Which do you prefer? I actually prefer gi jiu-jitsu. Um, I like no gi enough. Um, Gi jiu-jitsu it allows me to have more control over my opponent and then the flow of the rolling sessions that we do. For example, if I'm rolling with someone who's a lot faster than me, I can get it once I get grips on them, I can slow them down. That's not so much in no gi, especially since there's no gi to grip on, of course. But no gi training is just faster paced. It's the nature of the beast. There's less friction. There's of course no clothes really to grab onto, so it makes it more challenging for someone who's not used to being fast. I'm a middle aged office worker basically, so I sit down most of the time, and I've been sitting down for pretty much my entire career. So sometimes just being fast is just not in the cards, and I kind of feel like I'm one of those people. I can be fast when I want to, but I pay for it later on, and that's where you have to make up your mind. I can't train 7 days a week. I can't always train when I want to. So do I want to be able to train consistently, or do I want to train, have a recovery period, and then during that recovery period your training suffers? So you have to pick and choose your battles. And just for me, gi jiu-jitsu is the way to go. I do like to supplement my gi jiu-jitsu with no gi just to get a little bit more of a workout and just to practice techniques where I can't grab, just for a little bit more of a real world application. So I do prefer gi, but I do see the utility for me and what I want out of jiu-jitsu for no gi. And I hope that answers that question for you. Let's see. Moving on. Second question. What is more important, lifting or stretching? Um, so I wish this were live because I would ask you a follow up question. But, well, I mean, it is live, but the folks who ask me these questions aren't on, which is fine. Um, I'm not exactly sure in what context you're asking. I'm thinking that you're asking in more of a general sense, an overall sense. But for me, between lifting and stretching, I would have to say stretching. I stretch all the time. Um, for me, it's much more an advantage to be limber. Lifting, I do maybe once a week, and I do heavy weights, and I supplement that with some lighter weights with higher reps. Um, I've found that brute strength doesn't really help me much. I'm already pretty much stronger than the average bear. So anything extra is just, in my opinion, not very useful. So I'd rather have, my back and legs stretched out so that, you know, they don't tighten up as much while I'm in a training session. Um, Also, when I did lift a lot at the beginning of the first year or two, I think I lifted 2 or 3 times a week. So it was definitely two times, maybe 3 times a week, and I was just too stiff, too inflexible, and also I couldn't bring my elbows down to my ribs all the way because of the extra muscle that I had and extra fat because it was also 50 pounds heavier. So the combination of those two made my mobility, at least in that regard, to be very difficult. So, um, yeah. So I think if by lifting you mean like heavy weights, which is what people traditionally mean, yeah, 1 day a week I think is good. Um, a kettlebell workout would probably be a bit more optimal and useful, and definitely stretching. So a little bit of one, more of the other, so to speak. Yeah. Let's see. I'm not going to answer that question. That one's a little weird. What's this? How do you handle home life and gym life? Um, not too much detail as to what you specifically want to know about, but I'll answer it the way that I understand what you mean by, or might understand. I will understand it from my standpoint in what I consider home life and what I consider gym life. So, home life, everybody's got to understand that I'm going to go train at least 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes even four. Um, that's just a given. Unless there's weather issues, unless I'm like super tired from work, that's going to be pretty much the standard. Um, and I make it known. I make it very well known. Tell everybody who would worry about me, this is what I'm going to do this week. This is when I'm going to do it. This is where I'm going to be. So that at least gives people a little bit more comfort knowing where you are and how to contact you, especially if you're in a large, tightly knit family like I am. So gym life, I keep it lighthearted. That's gotten me in trouble with here and there over the maybe I'd say twice in the last 6 years, maybe 2 or 3 times, um, because everyone seems to handle gym life differently than the other. Like for me, I go there, I want to joke around, I want to have a good time, I want to see my friends, I want to make some more friends if possible. But for other people, it's probably a bit more hardcore. They want to go there and train, prepare for competition, you know, go to that competition, win, lose, or draw, go back to the gym, train, prepare for a competition, et cetera, in that cycle. So there's going to be people who are more hardcore than me, and I understand that difference in motivations and perceptions could be annoying to the other person. So for me, gym life, you know, I'm going to go train. I'm going to stay out of any BS. I'm going to stay out of any drama. And I'm going to go train, joke around with my training partners, have a good time, and then I'm going to go home. So and then wash, rinse, repeat week after week. It's a good routine, keeps me in shape, and keeps me out of trouble. And that's the key point. So I hope that's what you mean by. I hope that answers your question there. What else do we got? Um, hmm. At what point can the average 30 to 40-year-old guy with no BJJ experience expect to be able to go, I guess they mean go toe to toe with 18 to 20-year-olds? Um, so that depends on what your physical ability is, and it also depends on what the 18 to 20-year-old physical ability is. Now, keep in mind, not everyone is going to be the same strength level as they get older. As you get into adulthood to, beyond, people are going to have different athletic levels, and genetics are going to play a good part in that. So grappling sports is pretty interesting to me because a more experienced, somewhat athletic, middle-aged person can roll with successfully against a younger, more athletic person with the same amount of experience and lesser. So it's like the Boyd's belt thing, right? Except you have to factor in not only just belt ranking and experience, but also athleticism and age all in there. A 18 to 20 year old white belt, theoretically, through if you use the Boyd belt system, is going to be on equal footing to a middle aged blue belt, I think it is. So, like a blue belt 35 to 40 years old. That seems to be my experience. But that gets a little bit hairier as the middle aged person gets older, and it also gets a little more hairier as the younger person, progresses in rank. So there is a sweet spot, um, but you gotta make sure that if you're the older guy, that one, you're back in shape because that's going to be a very deciding factor, and two, you got to make sure that you temper your expectations. Even though you can go toe to toe with, you know, let's say 20-year-old, three out of five of the 20-year-olds in the class, there's going to be one that's going to punch your ticket. It might be the other two. So, and that's just the nature of the game. I've rolled with some, uh, wrestlers in their early 20s who did not have jiu-jitsu experience, but they had wrestling experience, and those guys were pretty rough. They were a pretty rough time. But once I figured out that they were wrestlers and that they were probably still in college, just out of college, I was like, okay, I recognized that this was going to be not an easy role, and I also recognized that since they don't have jiu-jitsu experience, that their top pressure is going to be probably pretty crushing. Most most of the good wrestlers that I've rolled with while doing, I'm doing jiu-jitsu, they're still learning jiu-jitsu, but they're doing like leaning back on more of their wrestling background to be able to participate. It's been a pretty good challenge, and it's been that way for a very long time. Um, when I did judo in my teen years, um, high school wrestlers that would come by and check us out were the number one group that gave us a big challenge, like a major challenge, just right in the door. So you just have to temper your expectations. You know, there is no, I don't think there is a specific point. I say there's a sweet spot for the balance of the Boyd belt system in this regard, but there's no hard set point where a older competitor could be able to go toe to toe with a newer competitor. There's no hard set point. It just depends on the individual. Right. So, man, I'm running through these. I don't know if I got too much to talk about after this. All right. So the last question is that can you review some more dust videos? Now this is what I don't want to really want to get into again, but I will because quite frankly, I'm bored and I can't sleep, and why not? You know, if you guys want to see it, if you guys want to hear what I think, you know, coming from my background, um, let's just do it. So I've got their YouTube channel up. Let's choose a good one. Oh, let's do pistol versus rear naked choke. It's two things I've experience with.
Detroit Urban Survival Training. Right now we're going to address an issue some people have asked, and that was, can we use a firearm when someone's choking us from the rear? And the answer is yes. Anytime someone is choking you, depriving your brain of needed oxygen and or blood flow, you can use any weapon necessary to defend your life or the lives of others. In this case, armed with a pistol, first thing we do is secure our air, tuck your chin, and then draw your pistol and shoot into the pelvis of the aggressor. Legs anywhere in that area can cause them to make you let you go. Another option you have is to invert the weapon and go here to the head of the...
All right, no. All right, shooting him in the pelvis, fine. Shooting him in the thigh will kill them. There's a big vein that runs through there. Now, let's just say that this person is unarmed and isn't going for your pistol. You know, this scenario is a gray area. There's a lot more going on here than, you know, in real life applications. There would be a lot more going on here than you know, meets the eye. You know, what if this person is just joking around with you? I've had friends that come up from behind me, they see me at a mall, whatever, and they put me in a pseudo rear naked choke, and you know, I've admittedly panicked a little bit, and I'm like, who is this? Oh, it's you, ha 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 ha. But if you do this technique as is, and I stopped it here for a specific point. If you do this, you have to keep in mind, if you shoot somebody in the pelvis, you shoot somebody in the thigh, there's a very high chance that you're going to hit an artery, major vein, etc., especially in those areas, and this person is going to pass away before the emergency services folks can get to them. That's number one. Number two, putting a pistol up to your ear, even if it's to shoot somebody behind you, the blast of the pistol and the sound of that firearm going off is going to blow your eardrum out. You know, it's going to be extremely painful to you. So, you know, I can understand doing this in an extremely last ditch attempt. Like if this person is trying to kill you, they've gone for your weapon, they've reached for your pistol, whatever. Fine. In my opinion, there are better options though. You know, this would be this particular technique right here that he's doing, shooting over his head into the person behind him. That's going to kill the attacker, hands down. And well, let me rephrase. There's a very high chance that their attacker is going to get killed by this. And there's a very high chance that you're going to permanently lose hearing in your ear on that side. The only reason that he's getting away with this right now is because he's using an air pistol. That pistol is nowhere near as loud as the sound of an actual gunshot. So, yeah, don't do this. You know, let me reiterate, the only reason that you would do this particular technique, putting your pistol up behind your head and shooting it and pulling the trigger, is if you are 100% convinced that the attacker is trying to kill you. But the consequence is you're never going to hear out of that side of your ear again. Whatever. I'm already irritated by this. We'll do a few more.
The aggressor. Any of these television options will increase your survivability when you're being choked and you're carrying a pistol. Detroit.
I I got nothing. All right, so let's do
Detroit Urban
another
Survival
one.
Training. Right now we're going
I was at home.
Come on.
I was at home and my son busted. He said, Dad, I need to.
I gotta go back to that. All right, let's see what else we got here. The difference between survival tactics and sports techniques. Huh. That should be interesting.
Detroit Urban Survival Training. Sport techniques and survival tactics are not the same. Eye pokes are illegal in sports because it ends careers. Eye gouging is legal in survival because it saves lives when your life's in danger.
So the thing is, right? Eyes are very, very small targets, you know. And if you poke someone in the eye and you don't, first of all, you're going to permanently blind them, right? If you follow through with it. Second of all, let's say you go for someone's eyes and you intend to poke them in both eyes, right? If you don't get both of them, the person can still fight you back with one eye, and now he knows that your tactics are going to go for his eyes. You know, they're going to be a lot more defensive and a lot more aggressive with you. They're going to defend their remaining eye, and they're going to go in harder to try to take you out. These are not feasible. These are not good tactics, quite frankly. You know, it's better to subdue the attacker and make sure control, subdue, and submit. You know, control them to the ground, subdue them so they can't move, and, you know, choke them unconscious or break an arm if you have to. Break a leg. Heel hook them. Well, I don't really recommend heel hooking in a self-defense scenario, you know. We can go into that later. But, yeah, like, you know, if somebody tried poking me in the eye and they got one of my eyes and I still had a good one, I would just break their fingers. You know, it doesn't take too much to break fingers. But whatever. Yeah, just this is it's like shooting someone in the knees or shooting someone in the legs. It's a very small target. Your chances of actually getting someone to not move their head while you're trying to eye gouge them, poke them in the eye, it's actually really small. And this is like freaking me out watching it. So,
Detroit Urban Survival Training.
but yeah, that's another piece of. I'm gonna say that's questionable advice. I'm not gonna say it's bad advice because if it's a life or death situation, yeah, freaking go for their eyes, poke them out, but be sure you can live with the fact that you're permanently blinding somebody. Knife versus rear naked choke. Let's look at this one.
Detroit Urban Survival Training. Right now, I'm going to share with you some ways you can increase your survivability when you're faced with a aggressor that's choking you from the rear and you're armed with a knife. In this case, it is a folding knife. And these are some of the questions we're getting from the internet. Can you legally defend yourself with a knife? And the answer
Just stab him in the arm until he lets go.
is yes, you can. And that's because anytime someone's choking you and you're not in a sporting arena, your life is in danger. So you can use whatever weapon you have available in order to save your life or the lives of others when they're being choked. In this case, he's choking from the rear, and in this case, a rear naked choke. We're gonna go here, tuck our chin if we can, to keep the blood flowing and oxygen going so we can maintain our consciousness. Use your blade to cut outward on the arm. That's one way. Another way is to invert it, go right into the arm itself and bring it down deeply into the arm itself to cut them, to let you go. Another way is reverse grip. You can go right to the inner femoral artery here in the inner thigh on either side. And if it's forward grip, it's the same way.
I got nothing. I, so really, the slicing of the leg technique is wholly just It's a bad option. If you have a knife and somebody's rear naked choking you, just stab them in their choking arm until they let go. That's really all you have to do. Slicing their leg like that in the femoral artery is going to kill them within, was it like 4 to 6 seconds? I don't know. That just seems excessive to me. All right, let's see another. Let's take a look at another one. Ooh, how to escape, control, and immobilize an attacker.
Detroit Urban Survival Training. Right now, we're going to share with you an option that can help you when an attacker's coming forward. Here, when they're coming at you, you want to make sure the crowd can see you, other witnesses can see you, cameras can see that you're backing away. Your hands are not in an aggressive position. As you're backing away, your hands between your mouth and them, but you're also making sure it's clear, I don't want to fight, I don't want any problems. When they come forward, you come through with the knee, and your knee should be the front knee here as you go into the pelvis area, aiming for the belt. Here, if you want to escape, you pull.
That's a really bad opener. If people are approaching you aggressively, especially in the DC area, they're not going to be hunched over. A knee kick isn't really going to be that useful.
Down and flee the situation. In the event that the person is aggressing, but you want
I didn't really see the control part there.
to control them, from here, they're pushing forward, your knee comes up into the midsection, pressing down, and here you can extend the arm using the elbow.
Yeah, somebody who's going to resist that, this isn't going to work. This guy's just complying 100% of the time. Yeah, I'd like to see these live. Like, hire somebody or have you guys just, hell, invite people from another school and just have them do these scenarios, but with full resistance. I'd like to see that. This is coming off as just, this has always come off, this has always come off to me as just choreographed dance fighting, really.
Elbow here to the ground, or you can use your knee there as well. If it's more serious, when you comes in, we come here, knee, fingers go in the eyes, lift the chin and the head, slam down. These intelligent options will increase your survivability.
He really likes going for the eyes. That's interesting. What is he going to do if somebody's wearing goggles? Because going for the eyes that much, if I were going to go fight Dale Brown, I would just put goggles on.
Detroit.
I don't know. It just seems a little bit weird to me. Let's go back. What else do we have here? How to choke attackers and avoid killing. Huh.
Detroit Urban Survival Training. Right here, we're going to share with you how we used our chokehold technique to stop violent people from attacking us and others. And these are violent individuals and gangs. So when the arm goes around, deeply, it goes all the way back here to the tricep, giving leverage. Squeezing here, simultaneously this hand goes to the rear, to the base of the neck, pushing forward and inflating the chest, causes an explosion of blood and oxygen to be taken from the person who's the assailant. In this case, when they pass out, the first stage of passing out is going to be the dropping of the weight. When they drop their weight, this often gets confused by the defenders, and they actually let the person go, which causes the person to fall unconscious.
All right, first thing. First things first. I'm going to mute this because he annoys me. They need to get people who actually know how to do these techniques. But I'm hoping that he threw his other arm here, his left arm out like this, was just to demonstrate where he's going to grip for the rear naked choke. And even then, he's not. You don't reach over that far for an RNC. But yeah, this leaves his arm exposed, and it's easy to catch and easy for the person that's being put in the RNC to grab it, pull it down, and defend. You know, that's not really good form.
Giving leverage, squeezing here, simultaneously this hand goes.
Yeah, he's doing this. Like, just catch this arm as it comes up and you're good.
The rear to the base of the neck, pushing forward and inflating the chest, causes an explosion of blood and oxygen to be taken from the person who's the assailant. In this case, when they pass out, first stage
That was a
of fasting
mediocre
out
RNC, I
is going
think.
to be the dropping of the weight. When they drop their weight, this often gets confused by the defenders, and they actually let the person go, which causes the person to fall unconscious to the ground.
So another thing that is a red flag to me is that he's not stating, and something that is always a hallmark of a good self-defense instructor is when an event occurs, such as someone is being put to sleep from a choke. Generally, they tell a class of beginners, and most of the people who like Dale Brown's content pretty much don't have any experience with any kind of combat sports or self-defense. So this would be a good point to explain to his viewers how long it takes for somebody to go unconscious from like a rear naked choke. He doesn't point that out. A lot anybody who does BJJ or mostly or anybody with MMA experience can tell you how long that is. But I've not once heard him say that. So let's continue.
And causes extreme injuries and deaths. So don't do that. Lower them down, loosen the hold so you're not holding them against the throat, and lower their head.
Yeah, the kids RNC like loosened up a lot as this guy went to the ground. Like it wasn't tight. It was a very just from looking at that and seeing it. My personal evaluation was that this was a poorly executed RNC.
Carefully on their sides, they keep breathing. Urination. You don't want where they explode with oxygen and blood to get to the brain so they can survive.
What is he talking about? An explosion? Whatever. Let's go back and see if there's something else we can review. I'll do one more video. Let's see. No. Huh. Shotgun disarm? Suspect. Three ways to defeat a ground mount rear naked choke.
Detroit Urban Survival Training. Right now, we're going to share with you some ways you can increase your survivability when you're on the ground, back mounted by an aggressor that's put you in an RNC, or rear naked choke. In this case, he arches back. The defender arches all the way back as well, puts his thumbs into the eyes of the aggressor, and causes him to let go. Another option is take his hands when he's pulled back and take it and slide it right to the rear and grab the groin and rip the groin down. Another option is to hook the leg.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. If you're reaching back for my eyes, I'm just gonna move my head. I've had people who've tried to do that just jokingly. I just simply just move my head out of the way, and reaching and trying to grab my groin. Yeah, I'm just gonna break your neck. The RNC is a choke, but there's a lot of really nasty neck cranks that you could do from this position. Once you go for my eyes or my privates, that especially if it's not in a gym setting, if it's out in the real world and I have you back mounted, not ground mount, back mount. If I have you in this position, like, you're signaling that you are willing to take the rules off the game board, and most combat sports practitioners worth their salt, like they find, I'm speaking for myself and my training partners when I say this, like we find conflict on the street to be kind of an annoyance. So we're not going to try to hurt somebody intentionally, but if you're going to try to hurt us intentionally, we're definitely going to, turn up the volume, so to speak. But do people really think that this is good technique? It's very strange. Very strange to me. But whatever, let's see what's going on. People are still texting me. Whatever. whatever. Yeah, I don't want to watch. I don't want to review this anymore. This is silly. How to avoid. How to use a knife without injuring an aggressor. Yeah, no thank you. Overhand forearm blast takedown? Yeah, let's look at that one. Let's see what else they have here. No. No.
Detroit Dermatology training. Right now, we're going to share with you
No.
the technique you can use.
Yeah, not even going to comment on that.
Fighter to take them down.
That's not going to work very well. One move that stops all pro fighters. A throat strike can stop any pro fighter. I mean, good luck landing one on somebody. Yeah, because that's not something easy to do. Landing a when you're getting into a fight with someone and you're standing and you're striking, hitting someone in the throat is extremely hard. Throat's a small target, very small target, just like eyes. I'll do one more. Wrist grab, no. Gun disarm with BJJ practitioner.
If I move anything, pull trigger. Okay. Let's do a random test. This is what you do on the internet. We have this one that's got 150 million views. Okay. All right. So you hear the shooter, and you hear the criminal, and you're saying, you know, you're going to kill me if I don't listen. Give me orders, whatever you want me to do. Nice. So you got.
What does him being a BJJ practitioner have to do with this video? Like, I don't get it. It sounds like I get the impression that Dale Brown just doesn't like jiu-jitsu practitioners. Oh, Detroit active shooter training for teachers? Let's look at this. This will be the last one.
New at 11 tonight, teachers here in Metro Detroit get a very valuable lesson on how to protect themselves and their students in case they are attacked. National Rifle Association, the gun lobby, has made that very controversial proposal to put guns in the hands of teachers as a nonviolent remedy. Check out this class, Teaching the Teachers.
Your brain will automatically draw a blank if it doesn't have options. So what we do here today is give people lots of tactical options.
In other words, you don't have to freeze up and be helpless. The training is hands-on.
All right, one. You know what? No, I'm not doing this. We'll do another one. The difference between survival. We already did that one. Like, if you have a rifle shoulder and you have the stock in your shoulder, if someone grabs it and tries to lift the barrel up, the stock should stay in your shoulder. It's not, you're not just going to let it go so they can flip it around and reverse your rifle on you. That's just not how things work. Whoa, come on. Black belt jiu-jitsu practitioner pressure tests. Oh. Let's see.
Right now, we're joined today with
Gabriel, RGJ City.
All right. Where are you from?
Jersey City.
Okay. today we're gonna go over some basic ways of taking a knife out of the hand. So one way is here, take your palm inside the blade and right here, palm right here on the side, look down. You're holding tight, right? Yeah. Another way is to take your finger here.
How do we know this guy's a jiu-jitsu practitioner and he's not just wearing a Renzo Gracie hoodie?
Another way is similar to the one you were showing. Pull here, push here, comes right into your hand. So like those techniques.
Absolutely, I'm great.
All right. Jordan was always training and jiu-jitsu. Training. Right now we're
Where was the pressure test? I think we have very different definitions of what a pressure test is.
joined today with.
Gabriel, RGJC,
All right. Where are you from?
Jersey City.
Okay. And today we're gonna go over some basic ways of taking a knife out of the hand. So one way is here, take your palm inside. the
I don't
blade.
know. I call Bushido on that. Let's let's see if there's one more with him in there, and then that'll be it. Oh, I watched this one earlier.
Not in the eyes. Go and grab. Yep.
BJJ black belt training single leg takedown defense.
As soon as they come in, yep. Come in just like that.
No, I call BS on that. The way he's dropping and the way he's gripping the legs, it looks like he's doing a double leg. But even if this was a single leg or a double leg, those are the worst executed single/double legs that I've seen. I don't think this guy's a black belt. And he said the previous video said he was a black belt instructor.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, they can't. So your wrongs that grab hard. Don't let go.
See, look, he's not doing a single leg. He's going for both of his legs. It's a double leg.
Don't let go.
Yeah, that's not bad.
All right, I'm good. I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah, so we're gonna leave that there. And we got I hope you guys enjoyed that because that made I lost brain cells looking at that. We got another question texted to me from one of our viewers on Twitch. Guys, if you want to ask me questions while I'm doing a stream, just ask me in the chat channel. You don't need to text me. What do you think of the Texas Uvalde shooting? What is your opinion on it? It's kind of off topic, but I guess we've been kind of going back and forth with the off topic stuff recently. Let's talk about that for a second. So, first of all, it is not my business what you feel about the Second Amendment. Whether you're for it or against it, fine with me. I am not going to hold it against you either way. But that was not the right thing to say. However, let's talk about that specific school shooting. And I'm going to preface this by giving a little bit of a story about the elementary school that my kids go to. So during school hours, all doors are supposed to be locked. In order to get to the front door, you have to click a buzzer. Somebody looks at you through a camera. You have to tell them through a microphone speaker system what your business is. And then they buzz you in and you go straight to the front office, which is right beyond the front doors to the right. Now, that's the way it's supposed to work. Me being me, 2 times I've tested their security measures. The first time, I had to drop off my son Lars his lunch because he forgot it. So I went to the front door, buzzed in like normal. But this time I didn't go to the front office. I walked to his class and handed his teacher his lunch. I didn't get an ID badge. I didn't check in. None of that. Because between the doors and the front office, there was nobody to enforce the sign-in policy. So basically, I just buzzed in and went on my own accord where I wanted to. Now, that's not illegal. There's no law against it. But what it does show is that there has to be some sort of there has to be somebody to challenge people that do come in through the one entrance when that's the policy. That's the first thing. The second thing was in my kids' elementary school, I only saw one dude on staff when I walked around. Not walked around, but between the front door and my son's class, I only saw one male staff member. And I think he was probably a custodian. Now, that's neither here nor there, but from a security standpoint, you want to have guys on staff, at least dedicated security, um, or even just teachers. Unfortunately, I know this is a not popular thing to say. Men are bigger, stronger, and can take more damage than the average. An average man is bigger and stronger and can take more damage than the average woman. So, if you have a threat that enters a school, you want the best choice possible to confront this threat. And in this case, it's going to be a male staff member. That was story one. Story two about my son's daycare is that I had to, again, go and drop off something to one of my boys. And I parked at a sort of different parking lot than normal because the primary place that I park, you walk up a little ways to the school, you turn right, and then you're at the front door. I think it's not a side parking lot, but I'll call it a side parking lot. I had to park at a side parking lot, and I had to, do about a half lap around the school to get to the front door in this case. But what I noticed was that a side door was propped open when it wasn't supposed to during school hours. So I walked in, I walked around the school 3 times. People were saying hi to me, people being very pleasant. I obviously did not have a visitor's badge on. And yeah, had I had malicious intent, there's nothing anybody could have done to stop me. So I informed the staff of the school about it just to see what, just to inform them, hey, you've had 2 security lapses since I've, this school year, and this is how. Now, the first one I reported it after I was done making my, walking to my son's class and then walking back out. And I walked right to the front desk and said, hey, I just walked in and did my thing and nobody stopped me. But the second time, I did the same thing. I just reiterated what the first instance was. That's when I walked in, bypassed protocol, walked to my son's class, and then came back. There has to be someone to challenge any kind of intruder, whether it be an honest mistake or someone who's a physical threat. I find it very peculiar that office buildings, especially in the DC area, have more security than our schools, especially our elementary schools. Our elementary schools, for all intents and purposes, outside of locked and closed doors, are, prime soft targets, so to speak, especially since there's not that much of a male presence in there. And that's just the unfortunate fact of the matter. Now, going to the Uvalde, I think that's what the name of the town is. Uvalde? I'm going to say that. It's probably wrong. I apologize in advance. Now, at Uvalde, the primary issue... Hold on a second. Okay. So the primary issue was not... From the initial reports, people said that a teacher propped open a side door. And that's how the shooter gained access to the school. Later found out that was not true. She propped open the side door, but when she saw that something was going on, she closed it, and apparently that was on video. So that's what occurred. The problem was that side door, which should have been locked, was not locked. So when the shooter got to that door and pulled on it to open it up, it opened. Now, that's a breach of standard security protocol. That's actually 2. If the door is supposed to be secure, propping it open is not the best thing to do because, she was going to her car or something. While she was doing that, somebody could have snuck in. She should have left out the front door and just taken the proper route, or excuse me, taking the proper action of walking to her car, retrieving what she needed, and going back in the front door. Propping open the side door not only, in this case, attracted the attention of the shooter, but is also could have, even if he wasn't a factor, could have allowed someone else to sneak in, which is just bad. Now, what they need to figure out is why that door was unlocked, because that is, in my opinion, one of the major things that's a major failure in this situation. If all the doors except for the front one are supposed to be locked during school hours, and I think that's a national thing, a national regulation now. I'm not really 100% sure on that. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's the case. If all the doors except for the front one are supposed to be locked at all times, and somebody unlocked it and didn't relock it, that is a prime example of a security violation. So, who knows how long it's been unlocked, and who knows how many people have snuck in through there because it's been unlocked. There's a lot of there's there's a lot of questions that are brought up just for that fact. Now, the second thing that occurred was that the gunman, shooter, I'm just going to call him the shooter. The shooter initially was reported that a security guard or resource officer confronted him and that the shooter shot him and then proceeded into a classroom. Apparently, that was not true. Apparently, he went from the entrance to the classrooms unchallenged, and then he got in there and did what he did for 40 minutes. Now, people are very upset with the fact that law enforcement did not respond. The local law enforcement not only did not respond, they kept out a Customs and Border Patrol tactical squad from going in and responding sooner than they were allowed to. They actually went in after they said, F it, we're going to do this anyways, despite what you guys are saying. Now, the local police not only was keeping them out, there were parents who had sat out with them for, I think it was between 40 minutes and an hour. There were parents that stayed outside with them and who were planning to go in, but the local law enforcement detained them and was handcuffing them. Now, in my opinion, if you're a law enforcement officer and you're not willing to do your job, and a group of private citizens are, especially in a scenario like this, you gotta make a choice. You either do it, or you let them do it. Now, people are making it kind of somewhat of a big deal about the type of firearm that this guy was armed with. Now, if you're locked in a room and when the Customs and Border Patrol responded, they got to the classroom that this guy was in. They actually had to wait for a staff member to get a key to unlock the door because they couldn't get in themselves. So that just added to the time that he was, uncontested. I think he was in there for 50 minutes by himself, unchallenged. Now, when you're in a situation like that, where you're unchallenged and you're committing harm, especially if you're using a firearm, it doesn't really matter what firearm you're using, especially when your victims are a bunch of children and maybe one or two teachers. Like they can't really defend themselves in that instance. Their primary defense was the locked doors, and that defense failed. So it really wouldn't matter what firearm he was using at that point, because he had 40 minutes to an hour, let's say that. He had 40 minutes to an hour uncontested with his victims. He could have honestly just ran in there with a knife and had pretty much had the same effect. Now, that's an unfortunate thing to say, and I don't wish that on anyone, but it's kind of true. The kids wouldn't have been able to stop him. The teachers probably were his first victims. They wouldn't have been able to stop him. So, it is what it is. Now, people asked in previous conversation, and honestly, I stay out of these conversations because it's a little bit of a mixed bag for me of people believing the initial reports, which have proven in the last couple of years to have all been generally wrong, or they'll believe something that someone else told them second, third, or fourth hand, and that information's mostly incorrect. or they'll believe some version of the story that's just not accurate after all the details come out. So I don't really like to have those kinds of conversations. You know, even with what I've discussed right now about the situation, if something I've said is wrong, please let me know. Send me a reference. I will change my mind, and I'll actually just issue a correction on this video as well. Now, with that being said, sometimes people are asking me, well, Thomas, aren't you upset with the police for not going in? And my response is no. And I'll tell you why. When Parkland happened, there were two SWAT officers, and I believe they were from different precincts. They were requesting, each individually, I believe, they were requesting permission to go in and confront the shooter down there. They were denied. Both of them were told to stand down, stand by. They went in anyways. So by doing that act, they both got suspended. Now, you would ask yourself, why is it that they were just doing their duty, which is generally believed to be serve and protect, would they get in trouble for it? Well, the answer to that is the same reason why the resource officer who was there that didn't go in and confront the shooter didn't really get in trouble. It's also the same reason that these group of police officers, I believe there were 18 and 19 of them, are also not going to get in trouble. And that reason is that between 1982 and I believe as recently as 2013, there have been numerous cases against the police that have gone through all the way up to the Supreme Court and reaffirmed by the Supreme Court that the police do not have a duty to protect anybody. And I believe through a little bit of a conversation I had on a forum with some good friends of mine, that I believe that the only time that the police have a duty to protect anybody is if that person is already in their custody. So the police literally could watch someone get attacked and potentially murdered and wait until the event is over and then go in and react. They can do that, you know, and the reason they can do that is one of the cases that was tried recently. I think it was the one from 2013. It was in New York City. There's a serial killer on a train who chose his next victim. The victim, while he was fighting and getting stabbed by this guy, looked up and saw two New York City police officers watching the whole thing from the next car over. And he was expecting them to come and help him. They didn't. They stayed there and watched until he subdued the attacker himself before they came in and assisted. Now this guy, and I forget his name, took the NYPD to court. And the ruling was that the officers did no wrong effectively because they have no duty to protect. Now, we're living in a society where everyone wants and is expecting the police to protect us. But unfortunately, they don't really have to. They don't have to protect us. And it's been ruled that they could literally sit and watch people die, get attacked and potentially die, and not suffer any legal consequences for it. Now, with that being said, that is why I am not surprised that the police did not intervene. You know, and I don't really have any hard data on this, but I'm willing to bet you in the last couple of years, with all the bad mouthing that the police have gone through, especially with the defund the police efforts, I guarantee you that a lot of the good police officers, the ones that would have responded despite the fact that they were told not to, have probably, the majority of them have probably left police forces, nationwide. And probably, unfortunately, what that particular town had left are simply just cowards. You know, that's the unfortunate nature of society nowadays. So I do know that in Virginia there is a statewide police shortage, and I know in Northern Virginia specifically, the police really aren't looked upon that well. So it is what it is. You know, it's very unfortunate, but you know, it's a combination. The Uvalde, Texas issue is a combination of different things. You know, And just to reiterate what I said, it's a combination of safety and security protocols not being followed. There was a failure there, and then there's also a failure of the local police to react. Like they could have reacted. And I saw training documentation from that precinct which told them in the event of a shooter, this is what you do. And that was on the news recently. So there was a failure with the local police, and I really think it's a very bad look that they tried to keep the Customs and Border Patrol agents, their tactical team, try to keep them from responding. Now, they're law enforcement as well. They also fall under the do not have any duty to protect rulings, I believe. Now, unless there's a difference between local and federal law enforcement, I'm not really 100% sure, but let's say that's the case. They decided to go in. Those guys are the type of people, the type of law enforcement that I would hope would respond to an event that me or my family's in, because I would want them to go in and respond. Now, when you get down to the details of the shooter himself, it sounds like this guy was bullied a lot. And that's very, very, very unfortunate. Bullying is a very terrible thing. I was bullied pretty much every school year until I graduated to college. But the thing is, not everyone is mentally strong enough to be able to handle it. Not everyone is mentally strong enough to try to resolve it. You know, um, for me, it was telling the administrators at my school, um, warning these kids, leave me alone, or there's going to be trouble, and not being afraid to tell my parents. That sounds like oversimplified, but that actually takes a lot of guts as a little kid to do. And but the thing to remember is not everybody. I would say I would actually wager the majority of people you know on the planet don't have the mental fortitude to do that. Maybe their pride is hurt. Maybe they find it embarrassing that they got bullied. There's a multitude of different reasons. Now, with that being said, it's not an excuse, but that from what it seems like, that is what caused this guy to snap and to do what he did. Now, um, a lot of people are bringing up the fact that he was 18 and he bought a semi-automatic rifle. That's the law. That's simply the law. If you put the danger that we're facing is that politicians push to have the age of purchase pushed to 21. But then we have an entire age range of adults, because legal adults starts at 18, that can't exercise their Second Amendment right. Because handguns, you already have to be 21 to buy. Now, the saving grace of that, I believe, legally, is the fact that you can be 18 to buy a rifle. Now, if that gets set back to 21, it's also then there's really no legal way for people between the adults between the ages of 18 to 20 to exercise their Second Amendment right. Now, that's just like an after effect of this whole Uvalde thing, but that's something worth note. And moving on from there, like the choice of rifle, is a Daniel Defense AR-15 variant, I believe, and people like think that's some sort of extremely special, extremely exceptionally lethal firearm. It's actually not. Contrary to popular belief, they're not automatic. If it was automatic, then that meant that it would have been 30 years old, and that comes with a more aggressive background check, and I don't believe this guy would have passed that one, especially since apparently he had run in with law enforcement already. The second thing is people, I believe he bought it from online, web seller, and then people are under the assumption that the background check from that kind of purchase happens at the point of sale through the website. That's not true. What happens is that when you buy a firearm through a website, they force you to choose a dealer that the firearm gets shipped to, logged, and then when you go to pick it up, that's when that particular dealer does the background check. Now, you have to do these background checks in person per law. So if, like, for example, Bud's Gun Shop, I think they're based in Wisconsin. If I'm probably totally wrong about that, budsgunshop.com. If I buy a firearm from budsgunshop.com, they cannot do the background check on me because I am not going to go to Wisconsin, because in order for that to happen, I'd have to fly out to Wisconsin to get it done. Now, if it's a pistol, that would be illegal because you can't do background checks for pistols across state lines. For a rifle or shotgun, I could, but still, that's silly. So what they do is they mail it to a dealer local to your location is, and then you go to that dealer and they handle the background check. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because I've seen people discussing this on social media, stating that this guy bought his firearm from a website and they didn't do a background check. Correct. That's the way it's supposed to work. The background check gets done at the dealer. Now, apparently also he had a plate carrier on, and people were saying, oh, he was wearing body armor. False. You can wear a plate carrier without plates, and that just makes it a pouch carrier, basically, like a standard tactical vest with no armor in it. Now, a lot of people miss that, and they're talking about, well, what do people need body armor for? And it's like, well, there's various reasons. It's just a tool. It's just a tool that a person can use. In areas where riots broke out, and people got a little bit violent and were burning things, I guarantee you that somebody who was stuck in those areas wished they had body armor. And it's really just a metal plate in a carrier. Now, that's an oversimplified description, but you get what I mean. Now, with all that being said, I believe, from what I know about that scenario and from what information I've gathered from it, especially like cross-referencing it with my background and various things, that there was failures upon failure upon failure upon failure with the shooter. Apparently he was bullied in school. Why didn't nobody stop it? Apparently he had many run-ins with the police. The article I read did not specify. I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but going off of if that's true, why wasn't he put on? Why wasn't he put on some sort of? Why wasn't there any kind of intervention with him? If I know that there's a young man who's potentially going down the wrong road, I'm going to help him stay off that path. It sounds like it was obvious that this kid was having issues, and very few people had any interest in helping him. And that's wrong. I think that's something that our society has a big problem with. I can't tell you how many younger guys I've met through combat sports, especially BJJ, that just needed a friend, or needed somebody that they looked up to, like an older brother or something. And I am happy to fill that role, but it shouldn't get to the point where some random middle-aged guy at a jiu-jitsu gym is being the friend of somebody in their 20s who doesn't have anybody else that they feel that they can talk to. There's something wrong with that. I don't mind playing that role, but it shouldn't get to that point. It seems like there's a number of guys that just simply slip through the cracks, and then they get lost, and then they get angry, and then they lash out in the most extreme way that they know. And unfortunately, that extreme way is going to an elementary school now, or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that situation. Just to reiterate, there's a security failure at school, law enforcement failure, a societal failure, just all sorts of failures from the top down. We have to do better. So, yeah, With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed my solo stream. I'm going to go to bed because it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. So I will talk to you all later. Bye now.